Huh. For a moment Violet and Agnes thought they had suddenly gone deaf. They couldn't believe what they heard from Victor. No. Are you crazy? That's a big no. Agnes roared as the information was processed in her head. I agree, darling, this is too reckless, even by your standards. Violet supported her mother seriously. They wouldn't react like this if the battlefield was something they could handle, but they knew that the battlefield he was talking about was a war between the gods of the higher sector. I think the same, therefore, I have decided in the future to do the same as I did with Akasha. Filter the billions of memories of gods that I have, and give them to them. Is that really necessary? Can't they just stay on this planet? Agnes muttered. I would like that. I have even prepared several dimensions for them to explore. We can make them stay for millions of years if we plan correctly, but eventually, they will want to come out to help, or to explore. I cannot keep my daughters in a cage for long. If they want to come out, they will come out, but on my terms, and when they are fully prepared to face everything in the universe, and all of them will be accompanied by my heralds and leviathans. Victor has already started the procedure to make more heralds. In fact, it was War who was doing this. After all, he is the progenitor of this new species that Victor created. While they were talking here, Victor could feel the numbers of his heralds growing and coming into contact with their eldritch form. Victor's heralds were some of the strongest beings in his empire. Even some of his wives could not deal with some of them, and only a few could fight War. They were created to eliminate everything that the Emperor said he did not like. War himself is a messenger. When War stepped on a planet, he was a harbinger. A harbinger that that planet would not be conquered, but rather completely erased from existence. Of course, Victor would not kill a world tree. Regardless of his personality, they were daughters of the primordial of life and Jean's brother, and saving these world trees would guarantee good karma with the primordial of life. Despite feeling that they did not like this decision, Agnes and Violet knew he was right. They could not imprison his daughters. Victor valued his family's freedom too much to do something like that. But he would also not let them leave unprepared as previously stated. If they can fight me using half my power, they can go anywhere, they will be free. Although, I will always be watching from afar, Victor thought internally that even if his daughters gained full adult autonomy in the future, he would still be watching. After all, that's what a father does, right? Observe and protect. Always. Forever and ever. He must always be ready to press the nuke button and eliminate everything. Right? Right. No one will touch them. No one. Agnes and Violet's lips twitched visibly. Half of Victor's power? The only ones who could handle half of his power were Jean, Rose, and Scathach. Their daughters must be as strong as these women to be able to have free roam at will? They felt a little sorry for their daughters now due to the look Victor was giving them. Two eyes like black holes that seemed to swallow everything, his level of passivity was off the charts. It literally had no level, because it was infinite. Seeing the look on his wives' faces, he spoke innocently, what? They are my daughters with the most incredible women in the universe. That is the minimum competence I expect. Agnes and Violet didn't know whether to feel sweet about what he said, or amused by his exaggerated but true expectations. They have the best bloodlines, the best resources, the best teachers, and a father who is a monster in combat who was always ready to teach them. If they couldn't fight on par with Victor using half his power even with all these advantages, they would just be incompetent and lazy, right? Violet thought. Darling, you're exaggerating again. Agnes approached Victor, and slowly removed the sleeping Hilda from her impalement. The said woman grimaced as she felt something missing inside her, but she didn't wake up. Gently placing Hilda on a bed she conjured, Agnes returned to the hot spring. I'm not. That level of independence is only for those who want to do whatever they want like you. You know that most of us can't fight you with half your power, right? The path of a warrior is, as said, only one path. Our daughters can choose different paths like the path of scientists, doctors, politicians, etc. That's true, but I will never neglect their training. It would really be a waste to have so much talent to get stronger and not capitalize on it. Victor and Scathach wouldn't let their daughters make that foolish mistake. She sat on Victor's lap, and gave a satisfied sigh when she felt his entire member inside her again. Just do as you said before. They can leave, but only when accompanied by our strongest forces. I know that as an overprotective father like you are, even if one of them leaves the galaxy, you would find a way to always watch over them and intervene when necessary. One of our countermeasures is perfect for that, right? She smiled gently as she began to move up and down. The space and time countermeasure, one contingency out of 75,399, this number continues to increase even now, contingencies for a possible case of his daughters being forcibly separated from him by some strange entity. The moment one of them is kidnapped, the souls of his daughters that are connected to Victor's would immediately send them to a safe place in a pocket dimension where Victor was completely omnipotent. This pocket dimension was a quarantine to evaluate his daughters in case someone left any traces in them. This feature worked with all the members of his family that were marked by his soul. He even made several countermeasures so that his soul in the bodies of his daughters would never be influenced, erased, or even altered. Victor's paranoia was so high that he made countermeasures for countermeasures, and from those countermeasures, he made even more countermeasures. It was an endless cycle of madness. And the wives knew this. Because of that, Agnes was acting to calm Victor's overprotective Yandra. The safest place in the current universe was to be part of Victor's family. The man did not mess around. Instead of worrying about something that might happen in the future, we should worry about making new daughters dash. I was thinking of having twins this time. We have to increase the numbers of the Snow clan. Violet slapped her mother's butt, and then bit her ear. Please don't give him any wrong ideas. Han. No more children until the empire is fully established and we rise to the upper sectors. Understood? Violet spoke seriously to Victor. Despite instinctively wanting to comply with his wife's requests, he knew that Violet was right. It was not the time to have any more children now. Seeing and feeling that Victor understood her words, Violet's serious face disappeared, and she smiled mischievously. Darling, punish this bitch for trying to corrupt you. Yes, punish me. Hilda's POV. I have become a true dragon. And that meant only one thing. She had become one of the Emperor's wives. The Emperor did not have lovers, he did not need lovers. He had wives, he had companions, and they loved him, as well as helped him. Glancing sideways at Violet, who was calmly drinking tea in her goddess form, the woman who had set up the entire situation earlier, Hilda felt her lips tremble at this display. Honestly, even with her evolution, she could barely stand up, her lower part still shaking involuntarily, with her insides completely filled with seed. She felt so full and satisfied. It was as if she had eaten an entire cow or something. Well, the amount of seed I had taken might be one of the reasons for that. Hilda's stoic face flushed as she remembered what she had done. In total, they had spent 7 days in the office, 7 days of activities without a break to eat, with only light breaks to take a shower, which led to another wave of activities in the bathroom. While sipping her tea with her eyes closed, Violet asked, "Do you regret it?" Hilda was startled by the sudden question, but she promptly replied, "I don't regret it, Lady Violet." "Stop calling me Lady Violet. Your status is the same as mine now. You are a sister, so just call me Violet or sister. Leave the formal words like Empress or Lady for when we are in public." Hilda rolled her eyes internally. Not even Violet herself believed those words. All the sisters could get along, but they all instinctively knew that there was a hierarchy here. Violet, Ruby, Sasha, Anna, Scathach, Eleanor, Rose, Jean, Aphrodite, Velnora, Kaguya, Natasha, Agnes, and Haruna are definitely at the top of that hierarchy. Violet, Ruby, Sasha, Scathach, Anna and Aphrodite dealt with potential problems, and Anna and Violet coordinated their sisters at the top. Aphrodite's role as a social butterfly was to keep an eye on all spheres to ensure no conflicts were large enough to impact the family dynamics, something that Hilda agreed with very well. After all, a hierarchy was necessary to have order, especially when dealing with such eccentric individuals. Although, this hierarchy never really applied. After all, they all really were like sisters, and confidant friends. Each of them stood by each other when they were pregnant, helping and supporting each other. This strong bond grew even stronger when the children were born, and all of them instinctively assumed a type of role in each other's lives. They have lived together for over 2,000 years, and this type of coexistence has killed any possible major conflict because of interests or something like that. The master himself. Husband. Darling. Hilda blushed slightly as she thought of those words. Coughing lightly, she thought again, Darling himself wouldn't let this kind of thing happen, he makes sure everyone gets along very well. And if one of the girls is too much of a troublemaker, he has an education plan in place that would last for several years. It was worth mentioning that because of this punishment, girls like Agnes, Natasha, Lily, and Lilith were constantly causing small troubles to be punished like that. Even Violet did it from time to time. Sighing, Hilda sat down in front of Violet and sipped some tea. Why did you drag me into this, Violet? FOMO, finally relaxing are you, sister dash? Hilda blushed slightly, but her stoic face remained. Laughing lightly, Violet explained, I did it for your own good. After all, I knew very well how you felt. I also did it to strengthen our family. Not to leave any loose ends, so to speak. Hilda felt sweet when she heard Violet's words, and then raised her eyebrow, not to leave any loose ends? Exactly. Violet took another sip of tea, and continued, currently, in our family, there is one devoted woman who harbors a deep love, but does not reveal herself. An unrequited love, held within for too long, can nurture rifts. Therefore, Yuki Snow will need to be added. There are 4 women who are extremely capable, but are not related to Victor in any way, and that is not desirable. This talent must remain in the Empire. Possible betrayals and the loss of talents. Especially talents like that, is a big no-no for me. Dun Scaith, Albedo, Hela, and Kali. Kali is a quasi-primordial entity of the universe. Our future children from her and Victor will be extremely powerful. Hilda swallowed hard when she thought about it. A daughter of Victor and Kali, what kind of monster would she be? She had no doubt that she would be at the same level of potential as Victor's daughter with Jean. Albedo is a human who became a goddess through her obsession. Her talent was already proven through her efforts in several aids in the Empire that she introduced. Her personality problem. Well, we all have our personality problems, and they work for us somehow, don't they? Violet smiled. Hilda rolled her eyes. She knew very well that Violet was planning to use the solution called stuck with Victor for a few years. There was no woman who could resist such a huge dose of possessive love on a daily basis. Hela is even more special, being a goddess of death and the end with such a high level of soul proficiency. Even if she doesn't have the same skill level as Victor, she is still very good at it. Even Victor himself praised her for it. And last but not least, the monster that Scathach holds in such high regard, Dun Scaith, Scathach's teacher. Her talent in runes has yet to fully blossom. As a dragon goddess, she would help the Empire immensely. These are the loose ends that currently exist within the Empire, and it is my duty to tie them up so that they do not become the seed of trouble in the future. Aren't you forgetting someone? Hilda asked, referring to the house's resident angel. Oh, I haven't forgotten about her, but at this point, she is no longer a problem. She is probably being impregnated by darling right now. Violet let out a mischievous smile. Hilda's lips trembled. Such a busy empress, huh? She spoke wryly. And didn't you say that Victor shouldn't impregnate anyone right now? Violet rolled her eyes. It's just a figure of speech, Hilda. You need to relax a bit. I've relaxed enough, thank you very much. Hilda said. Oh, I know very well how relaxed you are. I was there after all. Hilda blushed again as memories came back to her. Fufufu. It was becoming fun to tease her. Violet understood now why Victor always did this. You're doing all these things. Do you think Victor will approve? After all, everything that happens on this planet is known by him. The very fact that Victor hasn't moved or said anything about Violet's actions meant that he completely approved of what she was doing. The husband and wife duo knew each other very well. Not to mention that it's my duty to maintain order in our family and in the Empire. Just as it's my duty to strengthen our family and Empire, it's all for the greater good. Violet said as she stroked her imaginary beard like a certain old wizard. Hilda just shook her head in amusement. Even though she became who she is today, Violet never changed who she was. She had just matured splendidly. Are you planning to do the same thing in the future? Oh, don't get me wrong, even though I'm making these moves, I'm doing it because these women are very close to us, but they don't really have any deep connection, and I need to fix that. But I won't be doing this in the future. After all, the big prize in all of this is Victor. He's like the only oasis in an infinite desert that everyone wants a piece of, but no one can have. Future candidates will have an even stricter screening than Ariel. Violet narrowed her eyes. Dangerously. I won't let just anyone into our family, the future candidates must have very rare talents or. Violet knew her husband very well. She knew that Victor was truly satisfied with his current family, and he himself doesn't intend to accept anyone else he hasn't known for a long time. Her current husband was more focused on his family and his empire than actually caring about any woman out there. Women in an area that needed to be added to the empire. But when that day came, Violet was 90% sure that this woman would not become a wife, but rather a servant. After all, any possible talent could be nurtured by their own daughters. After Yuki, Albedo, Dunscaith, Hela, and Callie join our family, there will probably be no more women added. Well, except for those from Victor's inner circle like the Valkyries, and the Witch Queen. She thought of the Valkyries who got along very well with Victor. Despite showing interest in Victor and joking about joining his harem, said women were content with just getting stronger and accompanying Rose and Eleanor wherever they went. They were like inseparable sisters. As for the Witch Queen, she still needed to be observed as to how her talent would blossom for Violet to make a decision. Well, that is a matter for the future Violet to resolve. My current priority is with the most talented members. Bringing Callie into the team is a must. The moment Violet finished thinking this, she received a message from Nyx. Violet, I found him. Violet's smile widened greatly, and she made no effort to hide it. I was very similar to Victor's when. Hilda shivered slightly when she saw that smile on the woman. Something amusing happened or when something was going according to plan. Hold your position, I'm coming. Okay. Hilda, I'm going for a fun walk, do you want to come? I would normally accept, but. She looked at her legs that were trembling. Fufufu, you just need to float. Violet said amused. That's true. She had forgotten she could do that now. In her defense, the change was very abrupt. Okay. She still wasn't used to all this stuff. Good, this will be a good test for your new senses and powers as well. Follow me. Violet opened a portal that led directly to Nyx.